be voting against it.
Speaker.
Chris Bishop.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Now, one of the things that I've discovered on the Justice and Electoral Committee, which I'm very privileged to serve on, is the very worthy contributions very often made on that committee by Mr Dennis O'Rourke. Sadly, he did not join us in Australia a couple of weeks ago, and it's a shame actually, because I'm sure he would have made a useful contribution. But I have to say, some of the remarks made just then are wrong, actually. It seems to me, if you listen to the tenor of his speech and if you listen to actually the points he was making, everything would lead one listening to think that he would support the bill rather than vote against it. So I think it's a shame that New Zealand First is voting against it, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first was, just at the very end of his speech, he said, well, this hasn't been through the Law Commission process or through the department, therefore we can't vote for it. Well, that seems to me, sir, to be a reason to vote for the bill. Often members' bills come before the House, and one of the things about drafting members' bills, as I see members opposite, some have had members' bills drawn, particularly notable ones, with Ms Wall over there, and including myself and other members, is that you don't have the you're not far forward, my colleague Simon says. Well, so maybe Lady Luck of the biscuit tin has not smiled on my Breakfast Club friend over there. But anyway, the biscuit tin's treated me okay so far. Two and 2 years. Anyway, sometimes a bit too much on both sides. And the thing is, often members' bills come to the House without that background work. Yeah, without.
We're going to get back to it, are we?
Yeah, I'm making the point that often bills come to the House with that work. The second reason he advanced was a very concerning worry about confidentiality, and he said, we're not, because what this bill does is, in a very, I've got to say, poorly drafted sentence in the general policy statement, ensure arbitration clauses and trust deeds are given effect to extend the presumption of confidentiality arbitration to a rebuttable presumption of confidentiality in related court proceedings. And Mr O'Rourke was very concerned about the erosion of confidentiality. And I think that's fair enough. There's a legitimate debate to be had around that, and I think Mr Foster Bell would be the first person to acknowledge that you can have a legitimate debate about that. But the place for that debate is actually at the committee, where you get the legal experts. And I've got to say, on a bill like this, as a committee, we are going to rely on not only the Ministry of Justice officials, but also very worthy groups like the Law Society, and I suspect we'll see a few QCs turning up. It's usually the QCs who end up doing the arbitration, and they will have very firm views, I suspect. So we will be relying on their evidence as to whether or not that's the right approach, as outlined by Mr Foster Bell. But that's the reason to vote for it at first reading. And the other reason Mr O'Rourke said was, the other reason I think that New Zealand First should support the bill, I should say, sir, is that this brings New Zealand, I think, increasingly into line with foreign legislation. And if you read the general policy statement and the explanatory note of the bill, it talks about how there's been a large increase in arbitration worldwide over the last few years, and New Zealand is increasingly out of step with that legislation. The Arbitration Act was passed in 1996. That's 21 years ago, and it's probably about time that we updated that Act. There's probably a case for a thorough scale review. That's not something that can be done through a members' bill, but what one can do is make small and incremental and useful changes, and I think that's what this bill does. And so I would have expected a party such as New Zealand First, which often rails against how we're out of step with tax legislation and multinational trusts and things like that, I would have expected them to vote for a bill that increases New Zealand's international linkages and brings New Zealand into line with other legislation. But they're not going to vote for it, but that's a shame. I think the bill will pass. I'm looking forward to examining it on the Justice Committee. It's a very busy committee. We've got a lot of bills before it at the moment. Punishing the schedule of business, Mr Foster Bell says. I don't know about punishing. We certainly have a lot of business, and I think this will be a worthy addition to our schedule.
Tēnā koe te māngai o te whare. It is my pleasure as a member of the Justice and Electoral Select Committee to speak on this first reading of the Arbitration Amendment Bill. I'd like to commend my colleague Paul Foster Bell. It is a bill that meets a need, and I want to acknowledge that. And certainly I want to acknowledge the information that we've received